So explain to me the circumstances with which you got to see a half an hour of Phantom Pain.
Well, Ryan Stevens said, go to this thing, and I sat in a theater and I watched it, and it turns out it was really cool.
Cool.
I know there's, Ground Zero's got a mixed reaction to say the least, but I'm really convinced with the Phantom Pain. And just to set it up for you, you remember last year during the E3 trailer where you saw Ocelot and Big Boss riding on horses in that sort of desert scene? Well, the demo that they showed us picked up right there. And they sort of give you context for why they're in that desert and why they're together. And it turns out the thing that you're doing, your mission, is very compelling. And I feel like they spoiled something pretty big for me, which I won't do here. But what I really liked about it is it just immediately what struck me is how big it felt. The scenery seemed endless.
Because you covered a lot of ground, or just the distance of it?
Because you covered a lot of ground. So the mission that you're doing, you need to acquire intel before you can actually go and do the mission. And what I liked about it, and this was kind of shown in Ground Zeroes, is there's not like a waypoint where they say, go here, here's the thing, go in this room, stealth your way and pick it up. They're like, it's probably in this general area, and you have to find, you're going to have to check multiple things, so you have to find the best approach. And then you actually go and do the mission, which I thought was cool. And the distance covered. I mean, he was riding on that horse to get to this point to get the intel for a really long time. And I thought that was neat. But I don't know if you know this, the Photon recovery system from Peace Walker is back.
Okay.
And that was sort of the big thing that they showed.
Parachutes for the guys who go flying up?
Yes. And instead of just picking up soldiers, knocked out soldiers, you can pick up almost anything. So with the Photon recovery system, if there's a Jeep and you want it, you can take that Jeep.
So does a parachute come in and it flies off?
Yeah, you just hook this little parachute on a Jeep, and somehow the parachute has enough strength to carry it all the way back to your base.
I'll buy it.
Sure.
Did you watch it clip out of the environment, or how does it just vanish or something?
I mean, someone else was playing the demo, so he wasn't staring off into the sky. So he was doing this mission, and it was kind of funny. And just as he was doing it, he was just putting Photon on everything. There was a giant shipping yard container, and he took it back to base. There was a sheep, and he Photoned the sheep. And
so take it back to base. I'm sorry, not to jump around, but you've piqued my interest. What do you mean by base?
So there's a reason you're picking up all this stuff. It's not just for kicks, right? So we got to see at the end of the demo what your mother base is going to look like, presumably where Outer Heaven starts.
Right.
And much like in Peace Walker, at your base you can assign people different jobs, you can craft new items, get new weapons, things like that. But the thing that really blew me away, and they didn't show it, but if it's as good as it sounds, it'll be incredible. When you get back from a mission, you're coming in on this helicopter. It's not just like a loading screen. You see yourself go back to base, and your base might be getting attacked. So you could have these situations when an entire army is coming and trying to blow up all your stuff, and your guys that you spent all this time recruiting can die. So the reason you're getting these Jeeps, and I don't know what you're getting the sheep for, but the reason you're getting all this stuff is so you can actually defend yourself, which I thought was cool.
Well, Far Cry's demonstrated that you can weaponize animals, so maybe there's some kind of explosive possibilities with the goat or with the sheep. That's funny.
Well, what was interesting is the sheep, when he got to the base, the sheep just walked out and gave, this sounds weird, but an appreciative ba, thank you for saving me. So I wonder...
No, don't say that. It's too much, no.
If you can have an entire zoo at your base and you just have Big Boss the animal collector. I don't know.
So yeah, I like open world games, so I'm excited about, I didn't play Metal Gear Solid 4, but yeah, this sounds, compared to Ground Zeroes, how different did it look? What were some of the big differences between what people have seen before and this?
The big differences were just the new things that they showed, and the Photon system was one of those. But otherwise, the way that you played it looked exactly the same. And there was a little bit, just to speak a little bit negatively, I think it took some of the luster out of the demo because it played so much like Ground Zeroes. In Ground Zeroes, you spend a lot of time looking through binoculars, marking guys. And in Phantom Pain, you're going to be doing even more of that. And just the animations were very familiar. The shooting was very familiar. You could do a lot of the same tricks that you could do in Ground Zeroes. And I think I have to wonder if Phantom Pain will just feel a little less special because we've kind of done a lot of this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I will say something that I got a hint of in Ground Zeroes, but I really feel is true in Phantom Pain, is they're not just bringing stuff back like they usually do in sequels. And let me explain this. I feel like every single thing in Metal Gear is getting expanded upon in some way, and I think the cardboard box is a perfect example of this.
Yeah, that's crazy. I saw the pop-up shots. Those are really funny.
Right. And for those who haven't seen it, just a quick explanation. I guess I should explain also, in Ground Zeroes, you can call in a helicopter when you want to escape. But here, you can get some more direct support. You can call in an artillery strike on an entire base of enemies if you want. You can have them send you items. And during the demo that they showed, they had a helicopter drop a cardboard box down for Snake. And you're like, oh, the cardboard box, cool, it's back. But it's actually extremely effective because you can sneak around around in the cardboard box, and you can do the full-time recovery thing inside the box, so you don't have to de-equip it, so you get a little bit of stealth inside the box. You can pop out of the box and shoot dudes. And one funny thing that I saw, and you won't probably be able to do it that often, but when you pull it off, it'll be amazing. So a guard saw this box moving around in the demo, and he's like, what's up with that? The front of the box you couldn't see because it was behind a building. And so as the guard was coming towards Snake in the box, he popped out the front. And so by the time the guard gets to the box, it's just an empty box. And I can imagine like maybe the 1 or 2 times you actually get to do that in the game, it feels awesome. But yeah, and even with the binoculars, and I know this was in Ground Zeroes, just the fact that you can mark the entire base, you know what I mean?
Right.
And even the cigar has more of a purpose than it did before. So now this time it's an e-cigar, excuse me. And instead of just being able to sense, like lasers and stuff like that, classic Metal Gear style, he rolls up to this base. And the guy doing the demo says, oh, look, it's heavily guarded. And they took the time, I don't know why they did this, they marked every single guard. And there was like a dozen of them. He's like, here's what we're going to do. You can smoke your e-cigar for as long as you want, for 12 hours straight, and time will pass. And what I think is really cool is they said guards will not just stand there indefinitely. You know, when you play a stealth game, it doesn't matter if you wait there all night. They're still going to be in the same place because it's a video game. Yeah. Here, the positions of the guards will change. So if you sneak in the base at 3 a.m. and you wait till 6 a.m., they'll be in different positions.
That's great.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
and
really
stealth
cool.
games don't do that. But again, you have this trade-off. Maybe it's more heavily defended at night because they're more worried about it. And it's lighter defended in the day, but you're going to be so much more easily seen during the day. So those kind of trade-offs and those considerations, I think, are really interesting.
It sounds like the antics factor is being upped a little bit. I mean, like in previous games, I remember Sons of Liberty, it was kind of fun. You had this boat, and so you were playing the demo, and you could do all sorts of stuff inside that boat. You could really just like stun guys, put them up in lockers. There were a couple visual gags. Right. It seems like kind of like in a Grand Theft Auto Saints Row style, this will be a fun game to goof around with. Do you think that'll conflict with the serious story? Because it looks like, he's got blood on his face in the trailer. There's kids with machine guns. Do you think there's kind of like a conflict of interest between the like fun playground open world and this very serious story? Did you get a lot of cutscenes? Like, what's the story like?
So outside of the opening conversation between Ocelot and Big Boss, which honestly was fairly brief, no story whatsoever. Pure gameplay.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
That's an interesting question that you bring up, because I think the biggest difference is you truly have so much more control than you ever have had in a Metal Gear game. And I honestly don't know how that's going to impact the story, because Ground Zeroes was so short that really wasn't a good litmus test,
Are Ocelot and Miller walking around your base?
One of the funniest moments was at the very end of the demo, and they're at the base, and the guy doing the demo is just like, oh, look, there's Ocelot. And like right on cue, Ocelot comes around in a corner and does like the dorkiest wave to Snake, and you're like, what is going on? So,
it's like,
Ocelot is hanging out at your base. I hope you can have some meaningful interaction with him. A personal thing that I would really love is, how in Mass Effect you would go back to the ship, and some of the best moments would be the conversations you would have with the crew.
Yeah.
I really feel like Kojima is trying to do less like direct cutscenes, and I think because he's doing huge game, this would be a good opportunity to tuck some of those bits away from codec conversations, away from cutscenes, and have them, have you come to them.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go to Ocelot. Tell me your story.
Well, speaking of codec conversations, it's kind of like conversations in the car when you're playing Grand Theft Auto. It's like, as long as I'm en route to somewhere, yeah, patch me in and let me talk on the radio with somebody, give me some plot while I'm just riding my horse up this mountain to get where I'm going.
So the horseback riding, I honestly didn't get to see as much of it as I would have liked. One thing that was very strange in a very Kojima-like fashion, right after the conversation with Ocelot and Big Boss happened, the horse just defecated. And they're like, yes, this will happen a lot. And that was it. So, I don't know, just a random thing that I wanted to bring up.
Well, I mean, horses do that a lot.
Right.
And this isn't the first, this isn't the first, like, tall-legged creature we've seen poop in a Metal Gear game. Like,
That's
this
true.
has happened before.
That's true.
Maybe it's a nod.
But as far as the horseback riding looked good, I mean, it's a very visually impressive game, much more so than I think Ground Zeroes was. The one thing that struck me, I just couldn't get over it, is there, and they showed this during the E3 demo last year, and they showed it again here, but in real time, is you can go to the side of your horse to hide.
Yeah.
You can lean off your horse, and they go right up to two guards, and the guards, because they can't see Big Boss, they don't care that this random horse is just approaching them and stopping. And that looked really weird and dorky, and it kind of pulled me out of the moment.
Again, a trick with open world, something that I hope to see with next gen, that they can really deal with that AI.
Right.
Any weapons, any fun stuff? Also kind of a trick of open world, like fun sniper rifles, rocket launchers, stuff like that.
Sure.
You said you can grab this stuff. Are there any weapons and cases that you can grab and pull out via parachute?
So honestly, they didn't really show any crazy weapons. He was using the tranquilizer the whole time because it was a very stealth-focused demo. But the one new thing, I guess, was that artillery strike. And I mean, he just blasted the entire base. Like, I can't imagine anybody being alive after that artillery strike. So I wonder how that's going to be limited. I wonder how you acquire it. So I don't know. That was kind of the one new offensive thing that I saw.
It's fun. I've played games like Mercenaries and like Just Cause that are kind of this open world and you're attacking bases from any angle. And it sounds like you have that with being so massive like this game is, adding like the story, the heavy story with Kojima. Sure. I don't know. This game has a lot going for it. So
absolutely.
I'm interested. You have piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, for chatting me with that.
Thank you, Brandon Jones.
Tune in for more.